But first, it's now feared that up to 150,000 people may have been killed by Burma's catastrophic cyclone, amid mounting concern for the fate of more than 1 million survivors. International aid is still only trickling in, and there are reports of more plane loads of relief supplies being seized by the military, who continue to restrict access to foreign aid workers. Burma's military rulers are also under fire for going ahead with a constitutional referendum, despite warnings that many more people could die unless they focus on delivering emergency aid.
A military helicopter surveys the devastation in southern Burma, but on the ground there's still very little aid reaching cyclone survivors. Whole villages were flattened in the worst-hit Irrawaddy Delta. Thousands of people are now living out in the open, camped on roadsides. Monasteries still left standing provide some refuge, but are overflowing. This woman gave birth the day after the cyclone hit and left her homeless. There are other miraculous survival stories and other newborns in the midst of chaos, but many children have been orphaned. While the exact death toll still isn't known, estimates are now soaring above 100,000. And there are growing fears of a second wave of deaths from waterborne diseases and a lack of clean water, food and medical care. It's also feared famine could stalk the flooded and battered Delta, Burma's rice-growing region.
Many of the painful benchmarks that humanitarian workers like myself see have already been surpassed. And the one thing we don't want to see, as in Pakistan, is a second wave of deaths.
State-run TV shows Burma's ruling generals in the disaster zone, directing relief efforts and handing out supplies to grateful survivors. But 1 week after the cyclone struck, the United Nations estimates that help has reached barely 1/4 of the more than 1 million people severely affected. This hospital in the heart of the Irrawaddy Delta is overwhelmed with the sick and injured.
The situation is really out of control. Too many patients and very little help.
A worldwide relief effort is being mobilised, but aid is still piling up on Burma's borders, and the military has seized the cargo of 2 more relief flights at Rangoon Airport. Burma's generals are keeping a tight grip on the delivery and distribution of aid and still restricting access for foreign aid workers. The US is still waiting for the final go-ahead for its one single approved aid flight. Frustrated aid agencies are again warning there's no time to lose. But appeals for more access are falling on deaf ears, along with calls for this weekend's constitutional referendum to be delayed so that all available resources could go towards saving lives. The Burmese regime went ahead with the ballot anyway, urging people to vote for a new constitution that entrenches military rule. Amid reports of voter intimidation, it seems the generals got the outcome they wanted. Plenty of yes votes and none against. Vesna Nassau, World News Australia.